This video and others like it are funded by viewers like you. Thanks for your support. Okay, guys, I told you that I had a special guest that I've been trying to get on for some time, and that's one of the victims of the Cali kidnapping that I just reported on a couple of days. Abi is here, and he's going to tell his story from beginning to end. Let's just jump straight into the story. Okay, guys, I told you I had a special guest. I have Abi on today. He's going to tell his story. He's one of the Canadians that went through this issue from the story that I just read a couple of days ago. And we've been trying to get him on for some time now, but he's going to tell his story from his point of view. So you'll get to hear it from the horse's mouth. So welcome today, Abi. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. Another day above ground. I'm doing good, man. So I know we're short on time, so I'm going to let you just jump in and take this story from beginning to end.
Yeah, for sure. So, I won't be able to go into all of the details of the story, so I recommend people can just watch my video, which describes everything in a lot of detail. But basically, this story happened in November of last year. I had arrived in Colombia just a week ago to see one of my friends who's living there for about 4 months, and he had known this girl whose name he thought was Nicole. And what's funny is actually they did not even meet on a dating app. They met at Language Exchange, Gringo Tuesdays. It's very popular in Medellin, in Cali as well. And they knew each other for a month, and they knew each other well enough where I think they'd hung out even like 7 or 8 times, and she'd come over to his place and they'd cooked food together just as friends. They were just like platonic friends. There's nothing in between them. And then when I was in Cali, he's like, I want to introduce you to her. She's one of my friends in Colombia. And long story short, I was staying at an Airbnb, by the way, which was in a safe neighborhood, but did not have security. It did not have like a vigilante on the street. It was in a quieter street. And I think she basically Nicole arrived with like she also invited another friend who both Karsh and me had known, kind of like we'd met her at parties, but we're not close to. And she basically surprisingly invites this friend, and the two of them arrive. And what Nicole had done was she kind of scouted the place the whole time she was on her phone, like while she was at our place. And I'd invited a few other friends that night. So some of them did not show up, luckily. And this is one of the big red flags, by the way. Like from now on, for me, it's like if someone is on their phone the whole time, that's just like be careful. Like you should like if someone came to hang out with you, I'm meeting Nicole for the first time and she's on her phone the whole time. I just didn't pay attention to it, but the whole time she was figuring out logistics for the kidnappers to arrive. And basically, they let some time pass, and at some point, Karsh has some suspicion that something might happen. We try to leave the place. We thought they're going to steal our phones, but turns out they were actually having kidnappers come in. So we didn't aggressively kick them out. We thought, okay, let's just ask them to leave. Like we're two guys, we're sober, we're just like not going to let them steal anything. But next thing we know, Nicole basically is like, oh, I have to pick something up from my friend at the door. So Karsh takes my friend Karsh, he takes her out to the door, like, and then someone puts a gun to his head and he has to let four armed men in. And in this time, I was calling one of my friends who was in Cali and he was supposed to be there that day to tell him where I'm at. But by the time I'm able to describe to him where I'm at, I feel a gun to my head, so I'm not able to do anything. But then they basically initially tell us they're going to stay there for 3 days at our Airbnb to use up our credit cards. So each day they're going to reset our limits and use up our credit cards. But long story short, they realize that someone might come looking for us at the Airbnb. So they're like, okay, we have to kidnap them. So that's when they drug us, kidnap us away, and take us to this hotel. It's like a motel where people pay by the hour. I think it's like a motel where people take prostitutes. Like once we arrived there, we just saw people doing drugs and there's prostitutes all around. And for the next 24 hours, we basically had at least two guns in front of us. Not like we saw two different guns, but there's at least one gun pointed at us to make sure we don't try to do anything sketchy. So I think one other thing I'd like to point out for anyone who ever gets in this type of situation, like just follow whatever people are telling you to do. Like it's just your best bet at being alive. I think that's one thing me and Karsh did well. Like we did not fight back. We did not try to like act very sneaky, like try to run away, because one thing to keep in mind, all of our kidnappers, like at least the guys except the girl, they were all doing drugs. Like they were snorting something that looked like pink cocaine. They were offering it to us too. We obviously refused. They were smoking weed the whole time. So when people are that high out of their mind, you never know what they'll do. Like even if their plan was to never kill us, if we piss them off, they can pull the trigger, and they've clearly shown us the first thing that they have bullets in their gun. So we cooperated. We gave them all our information, including like our laptop passwords, our credit card pins. And what's interesting is Nicole, the girl who organized the kidnapping, she was on the phone with the guy who was speaking either American, to me what I thought was American English. So we kind of called him the gringo guy. And she was taking orders from a guy who was definitely not Colombian. And the way we knew he's not Colombian is because he was having a hard time talking to the other kidnappers in Spanish. So that was something that's completely like we had no idea who the hell is this guy, but he would tell us exactly what's going on. He would tell us that they're not going to kill us, but he was also like, yeah, like you have to listen to them. Like they're going to keep you for 3 days. Like it always sounded like the original plan was for 3 days. But long story short, what ended up happening is half of the group went to use up our credit cards and the other half stayed with us with guns to make sure we don't run away. The two groups ended up getting into a conflict with each other once they realized that the group who went out kept lying to the group that stayed with us that we don't have money, that they're not able to use up our credit cards. And once we heard that in Spanish, me and Karsh were like, hey, like those guys had our phones. So we're like, open our phones, look at our bank statements. And they look at our bank statements and they've already used up like $7,000, $8,000. So those two guys who were with us realized they're being screwed over. So once the other group comes back, they start fighting and they have like a huge fight in between each other. Everyone's calling each other names. And at some point, there's like this one guy who I was calling the homicide guy because he went to jail for homicide. He basically takes a gun and he takes a towel and wraps it around like the face of Nicole, the original kidnapper, and he's like, "She's the rat. Let's kill her." And he acts like he's gonna kill her in front of us, and we're just like, "Oh my god, we're gonna see someone die in front of us." But I think he didn't kill her. He just scared her, and to the point that he broke her. Like she just started crying after that. Like she kind of lost it, and then she was out of it. So the gringo guy was not able to communicate, and the gringo guy who was on the phone, he tells me like, just do whatever the kidnappers like these guys want. So at this point, I realized the setup is the Gringo and Nicole are together, like they're a couple. They've organized this whole thing and they've hired 4 thugs from the street. And now they've lost control of the situation. So whatever the thugs want, we have to do. Like the thugs have taken control. And what they decide is they want to go buy gold. So they take me and Karsh to the center of Cali, and they take me specifically to buy the gold while they keep Karsh hostage. So that way I don't run away. They tell me, oh, if you try to run away, we have your friend, like we're gonna kill him, blah blah blah. So there's literally like I mean, this is even on video. Like I'm not able to share that, unfortunately. It's evidence, but there's videos of me walking into a gold store in the center of Cali with this guy who has a gun like right behind me. Like he's not holding it, but and then Nicole, who's acting like my girlfriend, and then they make me buy like gold worth $2,000. And they tell me that, okay, this is the last thing. This is the last thing we're gonna do to you. After that, you're gonna be free. And at this point, they've used up $10,000 from Karsh. I think my losses are about $10,000. And yeah, so at this point, once we do the gold buying, they were supposed to let us go. They still don't let us go. And we kind of like I had to negotiate and like be like, please, please, so there's 2 guys who stayed with us. We had better rapport with them. So we ended up getting in the car with those 2 guys. Originally, the plan was we'd go in the car with Nicole, who we thought would screw us over. But then these 2 guys, we kind of get into the car with them. They're still holding guns, but we really, really like beg for our lives. We're like, let us go. Like, we directly PayPal these guys money as well. So I think because of maybe they were poor, or maybe we sent them money directly and secretly, they let us go. Like they drive like a few blocks and they just liberate us. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna pause there. Sorry, any follow-ups from your end?
Yeah, Well, this is straight nuts. This is like a movie. The way you tell a story right now and the way you tell it in your video, and I'll put a link to your video at the end of this one, is straight nuts, man. I don't know, even know how you keep your composure when telling this story. But question number one, the guy that you called the gringo, is that the Canadian?
Yeah, that's the Canadian guy. Like it was mind blowing. It blew my mind too. So me, Karsh were both from Toronto. This Canadian guy is from Toronto. Like it was just like what are the odds that it was a Canadian citizen from Toronto? And turns out in one of the conversations, Nicole, whose real name is actually Natalia, she slipped in that she's pregnant with the Canadian guy's baby. So that's how we knew, that's how we confirmed, because at first we're like, we don't know who this gringo is. But then at some point Nicole was telling the homicide guy that, oh, I'm pregnant with this gringo guy who I talk on the phone. So that's how we knew they're together. And the way we figured out the identity of the Canadian guy is the Colombian military, by the way, who's been extremely, extremely helpful. They went in and they figured out the location of Nicole slash Natalia. And when they captured Nicole, they found the Canadian guy right there with her, but they couldn't capture him because they didn't have an arrest warrant. And then they caught him. They got an arrest warrant for him within a week or two, and then he tried to cross the border into Panama, and that's where like a part of the military, like they had an arrest warrant all over Colombia, so they basically caught him and sent him to Cali. But the judge still needs to decide the number of years in jail he's going to get. So we don't we're not fully victorious yet. Like we don't have everyone in jail yet. The homicide guy is still out on the loose. Natty, one of the friends of Nicole, she didn't go to jail at all because she left right when the kidnappers came in. So there's it's hard to prove that she was involved in organizing the kidnapping. But yeah, this was just it's out of the movie. And there's some other crazy things that have happened that are maybe not covered on the news. I'm happy to share, but this whole thing has been very bizarre. But I will say, in my video, I haven't shown a lot of faith in the Colombian military when I talked about it. I almost I left Colombia because I was scared. Oh, maybe I don't know. I don't trust anyone. Like I don't trust the military. Like this is just get the hell out. I think it's the right decision to get out, but I've definitely seen how seriously the military took it. Like they have been on this case. And we didn't even go to the military, by the way. Me and Karsh, if it was up to us, we would fly right out and not report this. And that's why a lot of these cases, they don't even get reported because either people pass away or they're too scared to go to them. Because what did the gringo tell us? The gringo told me my exact address in Canada. And he's like, I know your address. I know your parents' address. Maybe he didn't know that. He's like, if you go to the police, I'm gonna come after you. So with that threat in mind, I don't think I would have gone. But luckily, my best friend who was supposed to come that night, he went to the military the next morning. So because he went to the military came to us. The moment we got released and we called our friend that, hey, we're alive, the military literally came to us, took us for an hour-long interview. Actually, the first thing the military did is took us to that hotel where we were captured to try and catch those guys right there. But then they took us to interview us. And then the next couple of days, they were always escorting us to our hotel, making sure we're safe, giving us the right suggestions. Obviously, they didn't want us to leave because they wanted to figure out the case. But over the next 2 months, over WhatsApp, they've been in communication with us every single week, every single evidence that they get, progress that they make, they share with us. We share details that we remember from our mind and photos that we have and proofs that we have. And thanks to all of the work they've done, as of today, Nicole, two of the kidnappers, they're in jail for 25 years. And the Canadian guy also captured, potentially going to jail for up to 50 years. That's what the military told me. So yeah, it's in the end, I think justice has been served in this case.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do you think it's the military that got involved instead of the local police? Why did your friend go to the military instead of to the police?
Did go to the police first. Firstly, some context. Why did my friend go to the police? So luckily, right before I was being kidnapped, I had an extra phone hidden inside my clothes. So I was able to use one hand and send him a quick email saying, just getting kidnapped, send police. This is the address. That's all. And because the same friend, he had called me while I was in the kidnapping, and I had a gun to my head, and I was forced to tell him, "Hey, everything's okay. Don't worry." So he thought I was fine, and he went to sleep because he knew something's off. Because I was about to tell him that, "Hey, I feel unsafe. Like something's going on here." So like because I sent that email, he woke up, saw the email, right away went to the police, but the police apparently were not gonna take action right away. So he was told he has a Colombian girlfriend. She told him in cases of kidnappings, usually the military gets involved. So she kind of advised him to go to the military. The military right away came to my Airbnb. They open, like somehow get in, and they see my Airbnb is ransacked. Everything's thrown here and there. And they're like, they knew right away that we've been kidnapped. And then within that day, the Canadian embassy got involved. Like the Canadian embassy was pressuring the military to like, kind of look for us. And like we were in touch with the Canadian embassy. And also when I flew back to Canada, the Canadian police came down from Ottawa to like interview me and understand my whole case, which was very interesting. Like they especially came down, spent 5 hours with me to understand all the details of my case so that, they can prepare themselves better if this is to happen with Canadians in the future. But when I told the Canadian police that a Canadian citizen is involved, they said there's not much they can do because the crime happened outside of Canada. There's nothing they can do, basically. Like the Colombian military has to do everything.
Yeah, I get that. Why do you think this Canadian guy knew you from Toronto?
There's no way, like no way he knew me. I think so this girl is actually from Medellin. I'm pretty sure they have been doing this in Medellin before, and they potentially tried this in Cali. So I'm like, yeah. Also, the Canadian guy and the girl seemed very experienced. Like they were seasoned professionals when all this was happening. Like the Canadian guy also kept telling me, "Hey man, you're gonna get all your money back. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." Like he knew. And by the way, I hate to say this, he was right. I did get all of the money back from my credit cards, even debit cards. Uh, so that is a positive. Like both me and Karsh were able to get our money back. What my financial losses were mainly, I lost all my electronics. Like they were shameless. They took away my electric toothbrush, my contact lenses. Like all I was left with was my clothes. So I lost my MacBook, my iPhone, my GoPro, like everything that I owned was gone. So I had to buy everything over again. Yeah.
This is crazy. Was this your first time to Colombia?
No, seventh. I I've spent a lot of time in Latin America. I speak Spanish pretty fluently. And I honestly, this is maybe one thing I'd like to tell people is I would always hear cases of people being pickpocketed, robbed, and never happened to me. In since 2016, I've been to Colombia. I was like, I just felt, I think deep down, I was almost like, I'm immune to this. Like I'm so lucky. It cannot happen to me. I did take basic precautions, but I was casual for sure. Like living in an Airbnb in a deserted street with no security, like I will not do that. Like I don't recommend anyone to do that. Like the first thing you should look for when you look for an Airbnb or hotel, what is the security like? Like these are the things you have to care about. And like if and most people, like 99% of people, you're never going to face anything. But that's where it's like if you let your guard down, you're increasing your chances. And the cost of the 1% is potentially death. Like me and Karsh are lucky to be alive. And like that's what, like we don't, I took it too lightly. I was like, there's no way. Like I've been here 7 times, nothing's ever happened. It's never gonna happen. Like, and it did.
It's unfortunate, and I had to remind somebody in the comment section a couple of days ago that most people that got in some kind of way, whether robbed or scoped or whatever, they said the same thing. I've been 7 times before, never had a problem. So at some point, especially the more you go, the more there's an opportunity of things happening. But what would you say to people as far as filling out? Because I'm a staunch proponent of filing a denuncia, going to the police and filing a report. Because if you don't file a police report, basically it didn't happen. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you should. I feel like in this case, luckily my friend went to the military, but if I just ran away and I didn't go to the military, these people would do it again and again and again and again. And because of the courage that my friend had, and the military followed up. Like we honestly didn't we were too we were cowards honestly in some ways, but because of that, like today they're in jail. Like this is going to happen maybe to 20 fewer people. Like, and I think it's important you go to the police and military, but also I can understand the fear associated with it. Like people, if people threaten you with your life, or if you go to the military, they're gonna like they're gonna come after you. But also a lot of the times these can be, these are ways, these are psychological tactics to make sure you don't go. And at least in my experience, like when you watch Narcos, you might think that, oh, Colombian military police, they're all corrupt, they're all paid by the cartels. I don't think that's not what I saw. I think I had that stereotype in mind, but I saw very honest people who want to make their country better, and they did whatever it took to find these kidnappers. Like they had no business, honestly. They were not personally affected by this, and we didn't even die. They could have very easily let this case go. Like I didn't even get hurt. That was another amazing thing. Not a single scar on my body. So, but no, these people want to make their country better. So if I think you should at least give it a try. Like I think the police and military would try to help. But I'll be honest, there is a fear. Like me and Karsh were always like, okay, what if these people were from the cartel or something? Like what if there's a tie between the cartel and the military? Like, so it is, I can understand where it's hard, but like in our case, it was very obvious that these people were not from cartels. Like someone from the cartel is not going to try and take you to buy gold. Like they don't want to buy gold for $2,000. Like I think you can kind of assess that depending on the situation a bit better.
Yeah, and the cartel's not going to be doing Tusi in front of you. That's the pink stuff that you said they had. So the military's office was actually the Walla. Is that correct?
The Gaula, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So shoot, I just had one other question. Well, what do you say to other people? I mean, what last piece of advice can you give to anybody who finds themselves in even halfway that, I mean, you went through it, bro. I'm like, I'm blown away, man, by how composed you are as far as what you went through when you told your story. And I saw it and I was like, man, and you told it all. So again, there'll be a link at the end of this video for guys who are watching this so they can hear more about the story. But how are you maintaining your composure, number one, and then how or what information or what feedback that you can give to others who may find themselves in the same position?
Yeah, just so I understand, you're asking someone who already got into the situation, right? The question is not how do I not get into the situation? It's like I'm in the situation, what do I do?
Well, well, how not to get in that situation? First of all, what were the red flags that you saw? I mean, well, first of all, you've already said, make sure if you get an Airbnb, you get security. Guys, you need to know that. Some people don't want security because they don't want the security monitoring who they bring up in there. But that's just foolish. That's just foolish. Tell these guys that you need to have, you already told them that. But what other red flags do you think you saw? Was it the girl that the speaking in someone on the phone? That's a good one too, because they're speaking in another language, especially you speak Spanish. You knew what she was saying. Most guys don't speak Spanish. They go down there. And the
Yeah.
girl's on the phone and texting, you can't see it. So any feedback like that, what red flags did you see?
Honestly, there's a few other like that. Yeah, I have a bunch of things here because so first so this girl, she never shared her Instagram with Karsh. That's one thing we figured out later. Like Karsh asked, and she's like, I don't have Instagram. Guess what? She did have Instagram. Found it later because it was under her real name. So if someone is being sketchy about sharing their social media, or like they don't have anything, like they have literally one WhatsApp picture and you have no other information on them, watch out. Like that's not normal. There could be people like that, but then just tread more carefully. And then
Mhm.
another thing which happened to which I heard from Karsh was on the first day that he met this girl, she was being very, very overly friendly, almost like, holding his hands, and like he was with another friend and she's almost being confrontational to the other girl, to the point that the other girl told Karsh, she was like, hey, like what's up with this girl? Like, why is she being so confrontational? And this is something I heard from other like folks who helped me out in the Canadian embassy. Like they told me this, like if it's too easy and this is maybe more related to dating. Like if you think it's too easy, it's like too good to be true, it's
Mhm.
probably like you got to watch out. Like
Yep.
it's also a red flag. Like, yeah, someone like she was always trying to make plans with cars, trying to like come over to his place. It's like saying like, oh, let's cook. I can go over, by the way. My interview thing got canceled, so I'm good to go over if you need to.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, she where was that? Yeah, if they're very proactive in creating plans with you, if it's too easy, that's another thing to be very careful of. Um, yeah, like I covered the Airbnb security. Um, yeah, and also I think in Colombia, like most Colombians, they don't invite people to their places, like even after knowing them for a while. Like it's just a thing in Colombia. Like people are paranoid, even with foreigners. Like a lot of Colombian people, normal Colombian people, they're like, I'm paranoid of foreigners. Like, what if they steal? What if they kill me? I think you have to carry some of that paranoia, unfortunately, in Colombia. Like you just don't
Exactly.
you take time, you really get to know a person before you invite them to your place. I ended up because I mean, I invited someone I've never met. I mean, my friend knew her, but I never got the chance to assess her, and she came right to my place and right to kidnapping me. It's just I feel like such a fool now, like of that. Why did I let strangers into my home? Like I should have not. Like she'd been to his place and never kidnapped from his place, but he's staying at a smaller Airbnb, and but like somehow I was targeted. So and yeah, the other thing is don't don't brag. Like do not show off what you have in Colombia. Like that's just a horrible idea. Like don't rent really nice cars. Don't stay in really nice Airbnbs. I stayed at a nice Airbnb and I know what happened. My friend had shown like he'd posted a story of my Airbnb, um, and I'm pretty sure his friend Nicole on WhatsApp stories saw that, and I'm sure that could have had a role to play. So I see, like in Medellin and stuff, like there's very nice looking Airbnbs. Like for $200, you can get like a baller Airbnb. Like sure, get it, but like don't brag about it, and make sure there's like security down there, like because you're literally putting a target on your head, and you're like, come get me. Like that's what it is by doing things like that.
Guys need to know that Colombia is not a hookup culture. You don't just meet a girl at a bar and you bring her back. It just doesn't happen like that. You should be introduced by somebody else. Even Colombians do this with other Colombians. They don't just readily meet people and all friendly like that, and especially touchy and always want to get you to drink, let's cheers, and want to party, want to get you in that party mode. Guys need to know and watch your alcohol intake too. But quick question. I know you speak Spanish, but oh, you said that they drugged you. How did they drug you?
Yeah, so the way they drugged us was they basically mixed our water with some sort of yellow powder. So the water was like just yellow and like yellowish in color, and they forced us to drink it. At first, I didn't even realize it was drugged. I started drinking it, and then Karsh realizes it's drugged, so he's like, I don't want to drink it. So then they kind of put a gun to his head and make him drink the whole damn thing. And because he drank that, he was able to pass out that night. Like he just like died. And I sneakily kind of put my drink away, so I was awake the whole night. But I'm not trying to say if you're in that situation, drink it, because the goal of that is you just become so drowsy or you lose consciousness and you don't know what's going on. I don't know what that drug was still, and I never even got like tested to check what exactly it was. But nothing bad happened, luckily, from that.
So their whole goal was just to knock you out and just blow some time while they emptied out your bank accounts.
Yeah, no, it was more like so right before they drove us to the hotel, they did that. So I think the goal was they so that we don't know where we're going. Because if we're really conscious or too smart, we can like kind of map it out. Um, yeah, but they also, by the way, there's some very rookie mistakes they made. Like they used our Rappi to order food to that hotel where we were kidnapped. So that's how we found out the location right away. We just logged into Rappi, and yeah, we were able to find the location. Oh, I have some other tips here with your money. Like just for example, I had all my banking apps on my phone. So and it was in a folder called banking. So once I got kidnapped, they made me open the banking folder and open every single app to see all my finances. So I would be smarter about that. Like, again, try to maintain minimum balances. Like, like put your big sums of money if you have it away. Like, just again, it's assuming you've gotten into a situation like that. Like, for example, one of my bank accounts, my US bank account, was locked by like two-factor, like, and I didn't have access to my phone number, so luckily they had no idea what was in there. So if there's ways where, people can't like add as much authentication possible to like places where you have big sums of money. And then another one, location sharing. Like, if you have an iPhone, just share your location with friends and family. Like, I had my location sharing off completely. Like, these, again, sometimes these people are not professionals. They had no idea. Like, when they were kidnapping me, another funny thing is they kept asking me how much everything is worth. So at some point they found my AirTag and they're like, how much is this worth? I was like, oh, that's $100. Like, keep it, keep it. Like, that's really useful. And they kept it like idiots. But unfortunately, I could not log into my Apple account after, because Apple blocked me out for like 2 weeks. So I could not track them. But if your iPhone sharing, location sharing is off and people were looking for me, like, I could have been found maybe by the military directly.
Another tip also is to take pictures with the female, especially in the beginning, and send it somewhere else. Send it to as many people as you know. Let people know where you are. I mean, never be so incognito that you don't alert others, especially anybody who's there too. I have another viewer a while ago that told me that he was scoped and robbed by somebody he met at a language exchange. Did you say that Karsh met this girl at a language exchange?
Yep, he did, at Gringo Tuesdays.
So that's another thing, guys. You need to be aware. I mean, there's so many different ways to get got down there. You just need to, I mean, I say people, if you're going for dating, don't go. What do you say to guys who are going to Colombia solely for the women?
Yeah, it's like, if you, I mean, yeah, I understand the appeal there, but it's like, one, let's say you go enough times, one of them is going to explode. It's like, if it's like I give you like, 20 candies and I'm like, one of them is poisonous. Are you going to eat even one of those candies? Um, yeah, so maybe it's not 1 out of 20, it's still 1 out of 50, 1 out of 100, but I just wouldn't want to play that game, at that point. Like, or it's like, yeah, like you open the candy, take it and get it tested somewhere, like, which means like spend a lot of time, screen, understand a lot before putting yourself at a vulnerable spot. Or, also meet people more like naturally. I think outside date, like I have my friend who went to the military. He's with a girl. He's, there, she's very high quality. She's an accountant, and like she didn't, I don't even think she ever used Tinder. Like, there's just a lot of high quality women who are outside of Tinder. And I think it's unfortunate. I have used dating apps in Colombia, and I do feel like the quality of people that it attracts is different. Like, even if it's not people who are trying to actively rob you, a lot of the times it's people who are in it for the money, or like for the wrong reasons. And you might go to Colombia and think that, oh, a lot of women are like that. They're easy. They're there for the money. But no, there's a lot of high quality people in Colombia who just don't use those dating apps. They're also scared. They want security, and they find more natural ways to meet people, which is through friends, or like, at a dance class. But again, you still have to be careful, as language exchange is a pretty wholesome place for the most part, but it can happen there as well.
Exactly. This is good information, Abby. I appreciate you jumping on and sharing this, man. Please watch the comments for this video and comment if you can, because there's going to be other questions and people are going to say, Rob, why didn't you ask him this? Why didn't you ask him that? But we're short on time because I have to get to another project shortly also. But this is good information, man. I'm appreciative, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I know we delayed this, and you were working with the police and the military to make sure these people got justice. Oh, one last question. The girl you said got 20 years already. So wait a minute. Within this period of time, they've already gone to trial and already got convicted, and she's in prison?
Yeah. She and the two guys are already convicted, fully in prison. By the way, another interesting tidbit there. This girl managed to message me on Instagram from prison. So
What?
yeah, Colombia is not fully clean in that way. Like I got calls and messages for her from her for one day, where she was basically like, I'm not a bad person. I was forced into this situation. She's basically trying to say that it wasn't her fault. She, if anything, she helped save our lives. All bullshit, honestly. Like she didn't even mention the gringo, like as if she thought we don't even know about him. And then she's like, oh, I'll like just let me out of here. I'll work my whole life. Honestly, I felt bad for her. Like she was 21. She is now in jail for 25 years. It's sad. I mean, she got into this, and I mean, but I don't think, but she knew what she was doing, and it's unfortunate. Like she made the wrong decisions and ended up there. So it's she is unfortunately serving what she has to serve. So another thing I just wanted to add, by the way, is also it's pretty crazy that in Colombia, apparently the jail time for kidnapping is 25 years, but for killing is up to 10 years. So like
That's
it
nuts.
makes sense. Like so what that tells me is also in these cases they can very well kill you, you know, like it's like don't take it lightly. Like because I survived, I don't think it's like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like no, I'm like I think it's a rare case that I survived. I think in more kidnappings, I feel like they're incentivized to kill you because if they killed me and Karsh, I think it'd be very hard to arrest them. So yeah, I think
Well,
that keep in mind.
guys have to know too, and I don't believe that the stories that we see are all the stories that are happening. And people need to know that I don't know about Cali, but in Medellin, they're finding dead bodies every day, wrapped up in something or floating in the river. And by then they're in a state where you can't identify who it is. So we don't even know who's coming up missing. So per what you just said, it's easier for them to kill you and get away with it. So, guys, you guys just got to be careful. I mean, after hearing this story right here, if this don't shake you up, I don't know what else is going to shake you up. I've heard some movie stories, man. Let me tell you, Abby, I helped a couple of brothers in Ecuador. They were in prison, falsely accused of double murder. That story is a movie. This is the second craziest story, the craziest story that I've heard, man. And the way that you tell it is so clear. I mean, you can remember everything that happened. So again, I appreciate you coming on and advising my viewers too. And most of my viewers are visitors to Colombia, are continuous visitors to Colombia, but I want them to be aware that just because they say I've been going 8, 9 times, Rob, I know how to move. You got to know how to move. You got to send a picture. Yeah, all of those things are good and they can help mitigate. But you're done at the point of selection. Once you pick that wrong girl, it's a foregone conclusion. It's already set up. You're just not aware of it, and they're going to get you, especially if they can drug you, and they can put that drug anywhere. Who's I'm going to guess that what they gave you was scopolamine. I just guessing. I don't know. Who knows what they can concoct up? I mean, what type of conjure they mix up? Who knows what it is? But before we jump out of here, is there anything else you want to share with my viewers? Anything you think is beneficial for them to make sure they're not in this same position?
No, just to add to what you said, like this happened after 1 month. Like Karsh knew this girl for a month. They'd hung out at least 6 times. She'd been to his place a couple of times. So it's not just like, oh, the first time I'm meeting someone, this can happen. This can happen even after you know someone for a while. So always keep your guard up and yeah, man, and thanks for your good work as well. Like I've been following your videos even before I went to Colombia. I did not take it that seriously, honestly. I was like, oh, why does this guy always talk about bad things happening? But it's I see why, and I think you're doing a good job. And it's people have to be careful. Like you can never be careful enough in Colombia.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And knowing that you did watch the videos and try to take at least a little bit of advice. And I know a lot of people think it's bad news, Rob. Somebody just said, they commented a couple of days ago, oh, somebody else got killed. Is you should call that your program or whatever. No, it's the news. It's so that people who are getting ready to go down know what they're walking into. I mean, I figure for me anyway, especially at my age, the more I know and I'm prepared for something, the better I can react and mitigate. If you don't know what's going on there, what are you going to do? The advice number one, just stay off the dating apps. You know, if you guys are, doesn't matter what I say, guys are adults, they're still going to do it. I mean, they watch other videos. You know those videos where they walking around Parqueadas or wherever, and they showing girls' butts, and guys just they follow those YouTubers. But guys have to know that when they watch those YouTubers, YouTube is feeding you more of those videos, and you don't get to see my videos. So just be careful. But again, I appreciate your time, Abby. Thank you so much for coming on, man. So have a good one, brother.
Yeah, you too, man. See ya. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the flight crew, thank you for flying with us and have a pleasant day.
Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Right quick. If you need to have things shipped to Colombia, shipped to someone else, or shipped to yourself to Colombia from the United States, make sure you reach out to CaribbeanShipper.com. CaribbeanShipper.com. The contact information is coming next. Join me on social media. I am DC Born Rob Official on Instagram. I am DC Born Rob Official 1 on TikTok. I am DC Born Rob O on Twitter. Don't be like this guy right here.
You're just so stupid. I had to send you a video to let you know you're so stupid.
That's right. Don't be like this guy right here. Join me on social media. Headed to Medellin, Colombia? See my guy Andres with Nomad Travel for safe airport pickups and drop-offs and tours. Contact information in the description below.
Thanks for hitting like. You did the right thing by hitting like. Thanks for hitting like. Thanks for hitting like. DC Born Rob.